Hello everyone, myself Sukrishna. In this video, I am going to explain about UiPath Orchestrator Assets. Basically, assets are used to manage the dynamic data or configurable data such as URLs, credentials, flags, and other confidential information. Instead of hard coding these values inside your workflow or storing them in your config file within the project, UiPath recommends using the assets. So let's take in a simple scenario. You have created a project where it will download the reports and send the email notification to the concerned team. In case if you want to update the application URL or if you want to add or remove the emails, so you have to open the project and you need to do the necessary changes and then you need to redeploy the code. This is time consuming process and it is not ideal for long term solution. So that's where assets will help us. Assets are easier to maintain and more secure and much more scalable. Let's see how to create assets in the UiPath Orchestrator. Basically, assets are available at the folder level. So I have selected the tenant and these are the options are available at the tenant level. So to create the asset, first we need to select the folder where you wanted to create the asset. So I am selecting the folder. So there we have a option assets. Click on the assets. Here we have a option add asset. Then we need to click on create a new asset. Right? Then here we need to mention the asset name. So I am mentioning the asset name as Acme URL. Then we have a type. So here we have five types are available: text, boolean, integer, credential, and secret. So based on the asset type, we need to select this option. So as Acme URL is a text based, so I am selecting the text. In the text field, we need to mention the actual value. So here I am mentioning the URL1, right? If you click on this create button, the asset will be created. Before clicking create button, let's talk about this global value toggle button and add robot asset value option. By default, the global value toggle button is enabled. That means this asset is accessible for all the robots in all the machines. If you want to set any specific value for the specific robot or a machine, you can use this add robot asset value. So let's click on this add robot asset value. In the user section, we need to select the robot. I have selected the robot as testing robot, and in the text field, we need to mention what value you wanted to assign for this robot. I am going to mention the value as URL2. Then click on add. We have enabled this global value and as well as we have set the different value for this testing robot, right? In case if any process running with this testing robot in any machine and if that process is accessing this asset, the output will be coming as URL2 instead of URL1 because of this setting, right? So let's take another scenario. Here in the user section, I am going to select the same robot. Here now I am going to select the mission. I am selecting the mission as testing and I am going to mention the text as URL3 and then click on add. Now we have enabled the global value and as well as we have set the different value for the testing robot and we have mentioned the machine as testing, right? In case if any process running in the testing machine with the testing robot, for this asset URL3 will be assigned, right? So if you want you can mention the as many robots and the mission details here as per your requirement. So here we have enabled the global value and we have added the robot and mission details. So the global value will be override with this detail as per the configuration that we did, right? In case if you want to restrict this asset for a specific robot or machine, you need to disable this global value. As we disable this global value, this asset will be accessible for these details that we configured under add robot asset values, right? Here you can mention the description. So this is optional. So I'm going to mention the description as this is Acme application URL. If you want, you can add the label and the key value details. So these details will help you to filter the asset details. So here I am going to mention the label as Acme. If you want, you can add additional details by clicking the advanced settings. So let me click on this advanced settings, and then here I am going to mention the key value as in use, and here I am going to mention the value as true, right? Then click on create. So now the asset got created. Here you can find the details like the name, description, type, value, label, and the property details. So let's create assets for different types. So add asset, create a new asset. So now I am going to create an asset for a boolean. So here I am going to mention the name as download reports, and I'm going to select type as boolean, and I'm going to select the option as false. Here I'm going to mention the label as reports. These labels and properties and description are optional. If you want to add, you can add, or else you can leave it as blank. So here I'm going to mention in use, I'm going to mention as false, and click on create. Now let's create another asset for integer. So here I'm going to mention retry count integer, and I'm going to mention the counter as 3, create. Then I'm going to create a set for Acme credential, and type should be credential. So here in the username section I'm mentioning username as user, and password I'm mentioning 1234, right? So here I'm going to mention the label as Acme, and I'm going to mention the key and value pair as in use and true. Click on create. Now let's create a asset for secret. So here I am going to mention the asset name as db connection string, and type should be secret. In the secret field I am going to mention the value as 1234, right? So let's click on create. Now we have created assets for all types. Now let's see how we can filter the assets. So the first thing in the screen, you can see here you can find the 25 items by default. If you want to increase or decrease, so here you can click on this drop down, and then you can select the number. So I have selected items as 100. Now if you want to filter based on the name, you can use this search. So here I am going to mention Acme, right? So with this keyword, if any asset name is matches, so those details will be filtered, right? Another way to filter the asset details by using the labels. So if you click this labels drop down, you will find all the labels at the time of creating the assets. So you can choose the option, and based on the selected label, the data will be filtered. So I am selecting Acme. So these are the details, and let me select reports. So these are the data. We can filter the data by using the properties as well. So you can click on this properties drop down and then you can select the key and then you can select the value. So based on that the data will be filtered, right? So let's take in a scenario you have created one asset. So let me create one asset with name system exception, and here I am going to mention the value as email 1. Now I want to create a system exception asset with the same value in the different folder. So in that case, instead of creating the asset in the each folder, we can use the link option. The asset link can be done in two ways. The first approach, we need to select the three dots for the asset that we will going to link. We need to click on manage link. Here you can find all the folders. Then we need to select the folder for which you wanted to link the asset. Then we need to click on update. Then click on continue. So here you can see the link option. If you go to the other folders, you can find the same asset with the same value. The another way to link the asset is we need to click on add asset, and here we have an option link from other folders. So here whatever the assets are created in other folders, so the asset details will be appear here. We need to select the asset that you wanted to link in the current folder. Then we need to click on continue and click on link, right? Now if you do any changes in the linked asset, the value will be reflected in all the linked assets. So here in the system exception in the finance folder, I am going to do some changes. So here I am going to add email to. Click on update. So now I made changes in the finance folder. If I go to the HR folder, you can find the changes here. And I am going to main folder, so you can find the changes here, right? If you want to unlink, we can select the asset and click on three dots, manage links, and then unselect the folder and click on update. Click on continue. And if you go to the finance folder, the asset is deleted, right? In case if you delete the linked asset in any of the folder, the deletion will be happen in that folder only. In the remaining folders, the asset will not be deleted. Here in the main folder, I am going to delete the linked asset, that is system exception. For that, we need to click on three dots and click on remove. So here you can find the message. This asset is present in multiple folders. By removing it from this folder, it won't be removed from the other folders. Right? Click on remove. And if you go to the help desk folder, the system exception asset is still there. Right?